Something small to note of here, when doing an install on one of these, I'm trying to figure out the best angle to show this to you at. So, there is this little tab that sits through this little hole that's just above where the cut is made on the radiator support, and it's just a tab that helps kind of align the headlight, but there is a bolt that goes through it, and you need to actually remove that, and I just take some cutters and remove it like that. It still leaves a little nub out that will still keep it in alignment, but you need to do that for this install because the support that I run off of the tube front runs to the back side of this nut. Matter of fact, I've actually got this thing tacked up right now on the other side, and I can show you what that looks like. But you can see why that's necessary now, because it obviously would not run. It would run into it. There would be a clearance issue. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. Okay, so quick status update. We are now done with the headlight supports. As you can see, we have got those welded in place. Everything looks really nice and clean. Let me turn this light down. It's really excessive. I don't even know that I need it, but we're gonna use it just to try and help show what's going on here. So I used some 1/4 inch stainless rod in order to make these. They actually attach on the back side of the headlight connection, like I said before. You just slide a little nut on the back side here, and you can understand how that's held in place. The final design will actually have a little bit of slotting to that hole there so that you can move it up and down and make sure you get precision placement for the headlights and the way that you want your bumper to fit and all that kind of stuff. Then we've got our center mounting cross-member mount setup finished here. I've cleaned that all up, as well as the center radiator support. And then likewise, we've got our headlight mount on the passenger side all completed. So the next thing to do is to create the intercooler brackets and also the radiator brackets. And then the only thing left would be to create the tabs for connecting belly pan. So I'm going to continue to move forward. It's been a really humbling couple of weeks working on this project, you know, documenting it both from a photo standpoint as well as a video standpoint to create good documentation for creating detailed instructions that are going to go along with this, so that I can set up the guy across the world for success in making these cuts and welding this thing and bolting it right up easily. But it's a completely different thing to try and do this with such precision that I can build a jig and someone else will be able to do this accurately. And then, you know, couple that with doing these videos to not only tell my story to the world, but also keep you guys informed as to how these things are built and what goes into them. It's been really humbling and draining. Combine that also with some other, you know, family needs and kids and all that sort of stuff. It's been crazy. It just seems like every time you want to spend your time and focus on something, life has a way of ripping you away from that because you have something else that for some reason is more of a priority. But I'm going to keep moving forward on this whole thing and have faith that all of you that have been asking for this and saying that you want it are actually going to step up to the plate and buy this thing, because I have invested myself, put all the time that I put into my business for the last few weeks into this. So I'm going to be launching it soon, and I think I've said it before, it's going to be handled. Fulfillment will be just like when I did my scatter shields. You want to get one of these, you're going to pay a non-refundable down payment to get in line. I'm going to issue you a tube front number, and then if you want to know how fast they're being made and where we are in the process, just keep a look on our social media page, and you'll see, you know, this is tube front number 7 that's being shipped out, and you know where you are in the line and how fast they're being produced for that reason. As soon as yours is ready, I'll contact you. You can pay the remainder along with shipping, and it'll be in your hands ready to rock. All right, so now I've welded on my intercooler bracket mounting tabs, which are 3/16 inch thick. And next thing I've got to do is weld on some tube extensions with some threaded ends in order to finish up the bracket on each side here. So just a quick status update. Okay, now we got our intercooler brackets all welded up. Man, this is bright again. And those look pretty good. What I'll do now is I'll show you a small video of kind of where we're at on the tube front in comparison to your OEM tube front and what you can remove at this point if you don't have the radiator in. So I'm gonna just jump over to that. So you can see how nice and convenient it is to remove this whole front end. You don't even have to remove the intercooler as its own unit. You can actually keep the intercooler on this thing and just pull the whole front off. So it's really nice to have and really convenient. So one of the many reasons that people want one of these things. So next I'm going to just move on and do the radiator brackets. And that is what good looks like. Yeah. All right, so the next thing is to make some tabs for this pan, this catch pan, oil drip tray, belly pan, whatever the hell you want to call it. I made this thing a while ago for this car, so that whenever it's on the racetrack, if anything drips on it, God forbid, the motor lets go, coolant overflows, whatever the case may be, it's gonna fall in this pan instead of getting under the tires of the car, throwing it into a spin and potentially causing an accident. Ask me how I know what that's like. That's another story. Anyway, so once those tabs are made and I do the final welds on the radiator brackets as well as these two little tabs, I'm actually going to remove this because I'm going to have some heavier duty M8 nuts that are going to be welded on those tabs, and you're only going to really need 2 of those, Mike, so we're going to eliminate this one in the middle, and that'll be standard. It'll be a standard option, but again, it'll be included in the price. It will be optional though, so that if people are not drag racers or they don't feel the need to have those tabs added on, they're really trying to save weight for whatever reason, road racer, whoever it is, you don't have to have those tabs. So you just let me know and I will not put them on the car. So let's get that done and then we'll wrap this up. Almost there. I have welded on the tabs for the catch belly pan, and I've also welded on the radiator brackets, which are now just cooling on the table. And really all that's left is to do a little finish welding on a couple of different areas that I wanted to clean up, and then I've got to drill a hole here in the center, which will be one of the mounting points for the OEM front radiator fan if people are still running that thing. This guy right here. And I've given directions, if somebody buys one of these, they'll have directions on how you're going to need to modify it by removing this particular bracket. I like to just cut it off and then grind it down and clean it up a little bit. But other than that, this thing is completely done. One other thing that I did yesterday but did not record it was I made a bracket. It's like a little support, because if you still run a factory style coolant overflow, it has a little support bracket that sits about right here, which obviously is eliminated when you make this cut and you do this modification. So in order to fix that problem, I make a little bracket that supports that, and you can see how it runs like this. But that's just another one of the options that you can add on when purchasing one of these later on, based on whatever configuration and needs you may have. I'm trying to accommodate everyone. That's really what I'm about. So I'm hoping that you guys really enjoyed this video. We're nearing the end here of the series, and obviously this particular video, which I know is definitely longer than the other two, but I just really wanted to give you guys a little inside perspective on what I'm doing, what I do for a living, and how I do things. It's a little bit more barbaric than some of the top end, fabrication shops, because, let's face it, I'm new. I don't have all of the most expensive top end equipment, but I make do with what I have, and everyone seems to be happy with the end result and quality of materials and products that I put out. So I feel very blessed for that reason. I can't thank everybody for their support enough. So anyway, we're gonna do some finish welding, and then I'll probably have a couple little, video clips here that'll show you the mock-up and how everything fits and everything. And that's pretty much it. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you hit the like button. If you want to know that there's new videos coming out, whether it's regarding inside projects like this or racing at the track, definitely hit that notification button as well, because you want to know what's going on. Okay, we're now finally complete with building this tube front end removable setup for the EVO 8s and the 9s. and I'm sure it may fit some other models, but I haven't tested that yet, obviously. Here's a quick look at everything, and I'll give you sort of an overview and an explanation. So obviously you've got our factory frame that we removed, and here's our removable setup. It has all the necessary connections that you will need. So you've got your 4 bolt holes that are connecting it to the box plates that we weld on to the chassis where we make the cut. It's got our supports that are for the headlights and the upper radiator support, obviously. And you've got your center cross member connection here. I've integrated some tabs for those of us drag racers that want belly pans or catch pans, oil drip pans, whatever you want to call them, which the NHRA and a lot of the racing series like Import Face Off require. So those are going to be included in the price, but they will be optional. So if you're not a drag racer for whatever reason, you don't need those or want those and you want to save the weight, it's a little bit of extra weight. I know that, you know, every ounce counts, so you just got to let me know you don't want those and I won't include them. We also have our radiator mounts or supports, however you want to refer to them, and our intercooler connections as well. So one other thing that I had mentioned a little earlier, and here's kind of a better view of it, is if you're running a factory style coolant overflow, or you use the overflow support that, you know, used to be bolted onto this frame rail over here, then you're going to need this little bracket which supports that overflow from below, and that'll be an extra upcharge. Oop. Which you can find through our Facebook page or on Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing bolted up and kind of give you an overview and preview of what that looks like. But the price will include all of the additional hardware that's necessary, and with regards to that, there'll be a couple of different options. You can either utilize the existing hardware from OEM, like your cross-member bolts and any of the OEM connections, and then I will provide the additional hardware that's necessary for these. Then your secondary option is to upgrade the hardware for the 4 main bolt connections. So there's 4 bolts and washers that you can pay an upcharge for, so that those are upgraded to titanium. And then there'll be a third option which will allow you to have titanium for all of your connections, which is what I currently run on the Black Zenith EVO. So we did weigh these and did some comparisons. When you're running the standard hardware, OEM hardware, without any titanium connections, you're losing just about 8 pounds. And if you use all of the titanium hardware connections, then you're just under 10 pounds. So you can imagine there's quite a bit of significant improvement in terms of weight overall. But with integration of titanium hardware, that definitely helps. And I know the guys that are going to be purchasing this are very serious about, you know, power to weight ratio, every ounce counts. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to present this to you guys. So if you're interested in ordering, do contact us through social media pages. You can either email us, hochmanfabricationandspeed.com, or I'm sorry, hochmanfabricationandspeed@gmail.com. I don't currently have a website, so you can hit me up through email. You can call the shop, which is 847-777-1287. Or you can message us through Facebook or Instagram, and we'll give you instructions on how you can place your order, as well as what your current pricing options are. Because the reason I say that is I make this movie today. A year from now, the cost of materials could increase, and therefore I can't honor whatever price I may reference in this particular video, and I certainly don't want to have to update this thing regularly. So if you want current pricing and you want to place an order, email us, call us, hit us up through social media. And again, it's an honor to serve everybody and support everybody's needs out there that's serious about racing. That's what we do. This is something that I do for a living. This is how I support my family, and I'm passionate about it. The reason that I have not released this as quickly as people would have liked is because I have principles and quality standards that represent my brand. And there's no way that I'm going to release a product that doesn't fit perfectly So it's taken a lot of time to make sure that as I'm building this, I've done so with a precision that enables me to build a jig around it and know that it's going to get consistent results. Just like when I did my scatter shields, that's kind of the standard that I'm standing up to. So I want to build, and I am building some detailed instructions that are going to explain exactly where you need to make the cuts. And before I go into installing this and kind of give you an overview of it completed to install, I want to go ahead and just get into that a little bit. So with regards to making these cuts, you're going to get detailed instructions with these. That's going to tell you everything you need to know. It's a little difficult to see with the headlights on, but just to give you an overview, you make essentially 5 cuts, okay? And then you have to weld on 2 different plates, and these things bolt right up. So the first thing is you make the cuts on the frame rails, and you really can't mess this up, guys. I have made sure that the cut line is literally parallel and follows the line of the chassis and the inner fender well. So you'll see there's a line that is right here on the inner fender well, and that's basically the line that we're making the cut on. So I'm going to tell you guys to actually make the cut a little bit further out, you know, 3/4 of an inch or so that you have room to really get this thing flat and flush. That's how you're going to need to get perfect fitment, is making sure that you make the cut right. You shave it right if you need to in order to get it very, very perfectly flat, and then you weld the plates on. You do that on both sides, and the other cuts are just below the headlight bolts, and then just below the upper bolt hole on the center radiator support. And that's basically it in terms of the cutting and the welding. You just want to make sure that you get those cuts right, and you want to make sure that you get the plates welded correctly into position. So what I'll actually recommend is, after you've made your cuts and you think you have everything lined up correctly, you bolt on those plates onto the actual removable section here. You bolt those things on, and you make sure that you tack weld them perfectly into place. What you're going to get are the actual plates. In addition to the removable section, you're going to get the 2 plates that you weld here with the nuts already welded on them. And you may have to do a little bit of extra shaping. You know, they'll come pretty well shaped, but not everybody's frame rail stayed true. Who knows, you've had an accident, whatever the case may be. So you may be able to just move them, you know, put them right up there and weld them and have it be perfectly flush like this looks. Or you may have to do a little extra shaving in order to get it perfect. But that's pretty much it, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and move into just getting it bolted up and show you how everything fits perfectly. Here. Look at that. Look at that. Like it came with the factory, man. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. He's even still got factory, or not factory, but the same clearance he was running on his bumper intercooler setup before. It fits pretty good. And keep in mind, there is some adjustability in this thing. These back slots that support the headlights You'll be able to move them up and down a little bit so that if you need a little bit of different clearance, you know, get the bumper fitting just perfectly, you can make that happen. So yeah, I just want to thank everybody for all their support and making this type of stuff possible by having you guys, you know, watching this channel or supporting the business by coming through and getting work done. It not only makes my dreams come true, it makes my family's life come true with respect to their dreams and ambitions. And yeah, none of this stuff is going to be possible without you guys. So appreciate all your support, and I guess I do owe you guys at least a hood close, right? I mean, that's a whole part of this deal, is making sure that the hood and everything closes. So let's make sure that this closes, and got to move this down a little bit so that it can close. Move this out of the way and put the hook prop down. That should help. We are clear now. Let's give this a shot. And there you have it. Fits perfect. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Definitely hit the like button. Definitely hit the subscribe button. If you do want to know when new projects are coming up, see event results, riding in the car, whatever the case may be, make sure you hit that notification bell, because without doing that, you're not going to get a heads up on what's coming. So, thanks for watching. Till next time.